Hello guys and welcome back to Tactic Tutorial. In today's video, I will be showing you how to use Audacity for podcast. Now, as you can see right now on our screen, we're currently on our Audacity over here and we're going to show you what you could do with Audacity that could help improve with your podcast. You could edit your podcast or you could edit someone else's podcast for them. I'm going to be showing you some of the tools that you could use that is going to be definitely helpful when modifying or improving your podcast. So let's get started. Now, first things first, how do you import your audio into Audacity? Now, you could record your entire podcast session in Audacity if you want, and then you could edit from there because, of course, you could record your own audio inside of Audacity just like what we're doing right now, or you could actually just import the audio from somewhere else. So for example, you have an audio that you have, maybe it's your own audio of your own podcast or someone else's podcast. You could easily just drag and drop it into your Audacity over here. You're able to import hours-long podcast. It doesn't matter if it's 1 hour or 2 hours, you are able to import that fairly easily. Although the bigger the size, of course, the slower the upload will be because if you can notice, there will be some time over here for us to be able to import it, as you can see. Now, as you can notice, I was able to import 2 audios at once, which is actually really great if you have 2 separate recordings. So let's say you have your podcast, you have the host and then the guest. Ideally, you want your audios to be separated. So you're able to actually modify it just like this. You're able to import those 2 audios together, and then you could now modify and edit those 2 audios together, allowing you to actually fairly easily sync your audios. So if you zoom in, it's going to zoom in on both of them. I'll remove the other one for now, since it's not an actual podcast audio that I could show to you. Now, what you could do now is that we could zoom in onto a specific section that you want. So let's start at the beginning over here. Let me play my audio.
Look at it, that is what that was for how to do this on. They're ready. Look,
So let's say that's our audio and we want to modify it. So let's assume maybe the podcast that you're modifying has a lot of stutters or a lot of sections that you don't want to play out. So let's say this specific section over here, we play this. So let's assume that section over there was a noise or like a random stutter of a word that should not be part of the podcast, or you don't want to be part of the podcast. What you could do is you could click on generate, or rather, effect, and over here at the bottom you have noise reduction. You could select noise reduction, which will allow you to reduce the noise, or actually generate over here and click on silence, click on generate, and it will silent that specific section. As you can see that the line flattened out. So if we play this, so as you can see, that specific section was now silenced. So if you have any noise or any stutter of words that you want to remove, you can simply pass through your video or your audio.
Let's use here.
You can easily modify it. So let's say, yeah, there's stuff like that. Then what you could do is, for example, you want to compress also your audio. So if you want, or if your 2 audios, so like I explained earlier, you have your host and then your guest podcast. What you could do next is you want to have those 2 audios to be synced. You don't want one audio to be louder than your other audio, so that's not going to be balanced. So what we could do is we could select the entire track, click on generate or effects over here, click on volume and compression, and select compression over here. And as you can see, you have this. You could modify your threshold, your makeup gain, knee width, ratio, all of those things. You will be able to see the graph over here on the right side. So what you can do is you can simply click on apply, and it will apply compression on our audio. So if you play it, it's just basically just going to lower the audio a bit to match your other audio. You could modify the amount of modification it's going to apply. We could also do the opposite, where instead of compressing, we amplify it, which will make the audio louder. So amplify. So let's say you want to have a new peak, which is this one. Then you could allow clipping. You could preview it if you want. As you can see, it's incredibly way louder than earlier. So this, as you can see, so depending on the peak or the height of this, it will increase greatly. So let's put it back to there. And the great thing is that you have a preview so that you could listen to it before you apply the effect. So you could decide, just like what we did, we were able to modify it right then and then, right there and then, without applying it first. But then let's click on apply. There we go. Then you could see how big or like the changes on the preview. Then your typical selection tool, you could select specific sections that you might suspect to be a noise, as you can see. Although I think it's conflicting, or like my effects are conflicting with each other, where I apply the compressor and then I apply the amplification. So it's, I guess the noise is a bit distorted over here, having some issues. So anyway, then you could now put some music. You could do, or you can import music easily, just like how you drag and drop your audio. And of course, those music are going to be generally louder. You could just simply add some fadings on them, add some fade in, some fade out, stuff like that. You could modify the audio. Of course, you want the music to be less, not louder than the audios. Of course, the speakers, the voices of the host and the guest, it should not be louder than that, because of course you need to focus on the voices. And there's some fade in and fade outs over here. That's really great. You could add some fade in on specific sections. So for example, let's say on a specific part, or like this section over here, the speakers are not speaking, you could allow the music to get louder. But when it comes to a section where people begins to start speaking, you can now add some fade out over here or fade in, which will then lessen that section. Like the audio would slowly get lower when it gets to that point. So that's basically it, guys. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.